A bombshell name drop during testimony in the Sean Diddy Combs sex trafficking and racketeering trial. Why were singers Usher and Ne-Yo brought up in the courtroom? We're diving into the connection these A-listers and music legends have to the now disgraced music mogul, and what the night in question that a witness claims they were in attendance for means to how this trial could play out.
Diddy is unraveling in front of the world. And it all came crashing down the day Usher took the stand and revealed what really went down behind closed doors. If you thought the trial was already intense,
Sean Combs is connected to a lot of big names in Hollywood and the music industry. That's not breaking news, but it was a bit of a surprise this week when Usher and Ne-Yo's names came up during testimony. The witness that brought up Ne-Yo and Usher was Dawn Richard. She was once a member of the singing group Danity Kane. That group was signed to Diddy's label, Bad Boy Records, and she also sang for another bad boy group called Diddy Dirty Money. Sean Combs was actually part of that group. It was a trio. They had a few songs that came out between 2009 and 2011. Prosecutors called Richard to testify. Now, before I get into the moment where Usher and Ne-Yo were brought up, I want to take you through her testimony and what led to the point that she brought their names into this. Now, Richard told prosecutors in 2009, she witnessed Sean Combs allegedly attack his then girlfriend, Cassandra Ventura, the singer known as Cassie, who has already testified in this trial that she was abused by Combs physically and sexually during their 10-year relationship that ended in 2018. Now, here's a line in the transcript where Richard said, quote, "I observed Cassie being attacked," and then when asked, "Who attacked Cassie?" she answered, quote, "She was attacked by Sean Combs." In the incident in 2009 that Richard talked about, she said she was recording music at Combs' LA home. Cassie was making eggs, and then Combs comes downstairs, quote, angry, and was saying where the expletive was his eggs. Excuse my language. And he was telling Cassie that she never gets anything right, where the expletive is his food. And he proceeded to come over to her, took the skillet with the eggs in it, and then tried to hit her over the head with it, and she fell to the ground. Richard told prosecutors that she witnessed Diddy allegedly attack Cassie multiple times, physically beating her. And while she was a member of Diddy Dirty Money between 2009 and 2011, she said it was frequent that she would see these things. She said that Combs would, quote, punch her, choke her, drag her, slap her in the mouth. I saw him kick her, punch her in the stomach. Now, when it comes to Usher and Ne-Yo, their names are brought up related to an incident in 2010 that happened at a restaurant in California. Dawn Richard was asked about this incident both by the prosecution and defense, but it's interesting how her answers and the details she gives are different depending on the questions that are asked. Richard was asked about that incident. It was in West Hollywood, California. There was a restaurant, a dinner with a lot of powerful people in 2010. And at that dinner, Richard says Diddy allegedly punched Cassie in the stomach. She said, quote, "We were having a private conversation, and when we're all sitting, eating at the tables together, when I say we, I mean some bad boys, some of our other label, and some celebrities were in the room, and they were secretly arguing, and he punched her in the stomach." Sean Combs punched her in the stomach. The prosecution then asks, quote, "Who, if any of Mr. Combs' employees were present?" And Richard says Harv Pierre, Capricorn Clark, Mia, D-Rock, Bonds, myself, and Kalina Harper. Now, the prosecution then asks Richard about Harv Pierre. He was a bad boy executive, and he answered to Sean Diddy Combs. The prosecution also asked how, quote, employees reacted to Combs allegedly punching Cassie in the stomach, to which Richard answered, "They didn't. No one intervened. We didn't."
this is next level. Usher was part of the inner circle. He saw the late-night gatherings, the hush-hush rituals, the power plays disguised as entertainment. And finally, he decided to stop shielding the man who once brought him in, once made him famous, once held him under his roof. When Usher began to speak, the courtroom hung silent. Then Diddy snapped. Imagine that moment. Usher, calm, collected, describing private gatherings where guests were monitored, where DJs were told what to play, where alcohol, drugs, and coercion were hidden behind velvet curtains. He laid out the details. When the lighting changed, when phone lines were cut, when entourage members were told what to do and say to keep things under wraps. He painted a scene of manipulation, with Diddy as the orchestrator. He talked about nights when young artists were brought in under the guise of mentorship. But once they stepped inside, there was no easy exit.
said celebrities were at that restaurant, but the prosecution didn't really follow that line in their questioning. They did ask about bad boy employees who were present at the restaurant, to which Richard named people like Combs, the bodyguard D-Rock, Pierre the executive. But then the defense had their chance at cross-examination, and through their questioning is when we saw those big names drop. The defense asked Richard, please tell me who was all at this restaurant. Richard answers, Harv Pierre, Capricorn Clark, Mia, and myself, Kalina, our bodyguards, which was Bonds, and D-Rock, Cassie. The question continues with the defense asking, you remember who was all there, right? And Richard says, mm-hmm. The defense asks, do you recall alleging several celebrities were actually there? And Richard says yes, and the defense then says, quote, so when the government asked you who was all there, and I asked you who was all there right now, you didn't mention any of the celebrities, right? Right, Richard says. The defense then asks Richard to name the celebrities. And then she says, quote, Usher was there, Jimmy Levine was there, Neo came through. There were a few others too. I don't recall those people, but those are the ones I remember talking to. The defense then pressed Richard a bit, asking why she didn't say those names before when she was asked about who was there by the defense. And Richard says she was just repeating what she told the government in their direct examination. Usher and Diddy go back decades. Usher lived with Combs for a year, actually, when he was just a rising star in the music industry. He was 13, 14 years old at the time. Usher actually spoke about living with Combs in an interview 8 years ago on the Howard Stern show. Here's part of what he said.
You're going to go to Puff Daddy's. He's going
in the 90s. Do you understand what that's like?
Puffy's place was like just filled with chicks and orgying like nonstop, right?
No, not really. I mean, but hey, it was curious. I got a chance to see some things.
Now, as far as Grammy winner Neo, he is someone who has been known to be a friend of Diddy and to be in the same social circles over the years. He faced backlash for a comment he made in the wake of Diddy's arrest during a performance in New Zealand last year, where he reportedly said, quote, on stage, I was sexually assaulted and I liked it. I had a great time and I'd do it again. He later apologized for that and said, quote, in an attempt to be playful with my fans, I made an insensitive and irresponsible joke while on tour, and I'd like to truly apologize from the bottom of my heart. This is according to the UK media outlet, The Metro. Now, the other name that Richard mentioned was Jimmy Levine. He is a music legend. He is known as the co-founder of Interscope Records, so an incredibly powerful person in the music industry. It's important to note that in her testimony, Richard did not specifically say that any of the three actually witnessed that alleged moment where Combs punched Ventura in the stomach, but she did say that they were allegedly there that night. Now, none of the three have released statements since their names were brought up in court. Combs is on trial. He's expected to be on trial for roughly 7 more weeks. He's charged with racketeering, sex trafficking by force, and transportation to engage in prosecution. He has pleaded not guilty.
He said there was fear. He said there was shame. He said he regretted staying silent for so long. And every word hit like a punch. The jurors leaned forward. The judge's eyes narrowed. Reporters even got chills. Usher's testimony wasn't just credible. It was devastating. When Diddy realized what Usher was saying, his composure shattered. He yelled. He paced. The gavel hammered down, but it didn't stop him. His team tried to quiet him. His eyes darted, searching for a lifeline that wasn't there. They'd lost control. The myth was gone. The image was in tatters. This isn't a tweet storm. This is the kind of revelation that rewrites everything. Overnight, social media turned into a forensic lab. Fans collected Usher and Diddy interviews, traced their past collaborations, dissected every interview clip, searching for the moments people missed. The phrase, industry sleepovers, started trending.
Approximately, I believe, 14 years of age, that he had gone to some sort of academy through Mr. Combs' enterprise or business. And the government can certainly use that to show a long pattern of behavior, dealings that he may have had with other individuals in the industry, and also to establish that Mr. Combs and Ms. Ventura had this long-standing relationship, that not only, there were a select few that got to observe, but that publicly some of these allegations or allegations of violence happened, and that other people observe those things.
And when we look at the transcript, and I have it here, and you have the defense asking why Richard did not talk previously in conversations with the government about Usher being there, Jimmy Levine, who's a famous producer, as well as the singer Neo. Should we take anything away from that it appeared that their names didn't come up earlier when she was having conversations with the government?
Yeah, what we can take away and what the defense is essentially trying to do here is really strike at her credibility. What the defense did during its cross examination is say, well, these other individuals were there and you didn't disclose their names until now. And why was that? If you are participating in a government investigation, you're presumed and you should tell the truth, the whole truth, and the full truth. And you failed to disclose a significant thing, which were the other individuals that were present. You failed to disclose that to the government. And now it's only today, as you're testifying, that we're just now hearing of these other individuals, Usher Raymond, Neo, and other executive producers that were involved or possibly witnesses to the case. Again, striking at her credibility because she did not tell the full truth at the time she was asked by the government, which later down the line during closing arguments, the defense can get up and say, you know, Ms. Richard testified A, B, and C to you. However, she failed to disclose X, Y, and Z, and that's why you shouldn't believe her. That's why you should not give her the credibility that the judge is going to instruct you on, and the jury can take that into consideration.
And one thing that's been apparent throughout all the witnesses thus far is clearly this was a relationship that had a lot of domestic violence incidents, but this isn't a domestic violence case. Yet it seems like there's a lot of people who witnessed physical abuse. And in this case, you have Usher and Neo. I mean, these are A-list celebrities who are seeing Sean Combs punch his girlfriend allegedly in the stomach, which is something that you would think if you saw that, you know, on the outside, if you think you'd stop that, you would step in, you would say something, but apparently they didn't, according to Don Richard's testimony. Does any of that, the fact that he was doing this out in the open, play towards taking some of the domestic violence incidents, but showing that it was a much larger thing, which is what the government's trying to prove?
You know, so with respect to the other individuals being present, although there's an allegation that they were present, and they're not really allegations, it's just background facts. I don't know that Ms. Richard has testified that they actually observed the striking. You know, maybe they did, maybe they did not. But I don't think that that's going to do any benefit for the government as far as knowing that these things happened.
Terms like control cult, manipulation under the guise of creativity, gaslighting at scale started echoing online. People dissected the vibe of old videos where Diddy throws shade, where Usher looks uncomfortable, or stays silent. Every post, tweet, meme, reaction brought the moment into homes around the world. Some people said momentum shift. Usher just changed the game. Others sobbed. This is rock bottom. And others, still loyal, questioned Usher's motives. Are we sure this isn't collusion? Are we sure there's not more going on? But that's the point. When someone who used to benefit from your empire says you're hiding something dangerous, when that insider says you're capable of abuse, it shifts the narrative in ways no press release ever could. Usher said he stayed silent for too long, that he thought the culture was changing, that he was shocked by how different things looked when the lights were on, but wrong when the lights went off. That wander artist, mentor, and mogul facade had a locked door behind it. Usher gave us the key. And now, multiple other voices are stepping forward. Some anonymously, some risking it all. A choreographer who says she was escorted out after she spoke up. A backup singer who remembers private threats on the phone. An assistant who said, "We weren't allowed to leave until we signed papers." Another celebrity once aligned with Diddy quietly deleting their old photos. A music executive disappearing from public view. Suddenly, the story is big enough that everyone's checking their closet for skeletons. That's when sponsors felt it. They began to pull. Marketing partnerships paused. Streaming numbers flatlined. Media opportunities dried up.
He has not been accused of wrongdoing by authorities in any way. Having said that, many people are wondering what he might have seen at a young age when he lived with Combs in the 90s. This is a very common topic of conversation right now. Deep dives into the people surrounding Combs. Justin Bieber, Jennifer Lopez, Usher, so forth. What do they know? Will they be a part of any kind of case? Now, days before Combs was arrested, another of his apparent mentees filed a civil action against him, Dawn Richard. Dawn Richard is a former member of the girl group Danity Kane, and then she joined a trio group with Combs and another singer, Kalina Harper. It was called Diddy Dirty Money. She filed a lawsuit claiming that Combs sexually and verbally abused her for a decade. She also claimed that Combs owes her more than $3 million in unpaid salary and royalties, as well as unpaid wages for touring. And going back to Usher, Richard claims that Usher witnessed Combs' alleged abuse of his then girlfriend, Cassie Ventura. Ventura had filed her own bombshell lawsuit last fall, seemingly kickstarting Combs' significant legal troubles. In the complaint, Richard's attorneys write, in the weeks and months leading up to the Bad Boy Interscope deal, Mr. Combs had frequent meetings with producer and then CEO of Interscope Records, Jimmy Iovine. On one such occasion, Combs hosted a dinner at a West Hollywood, California restaurant, which Miss Richard and Miss Harper were requested to attend. Among the guests at the dinner were celebrities like Neo and Usher, as well as Mr. Iovine. At the dinner, Mr. Combs and Miss Ventura had an argument. In front of the dinner guests, Mr. Combs hissed at Miss Ventura in a screaming whisper and forcefully punched her in the stomach, causing her to double over in visible pain, crying. Miss Clark escorted Miss Ventura out of the restaurant, and Mr. Combs remained and continued socializing with the dinner guests. At this point, Interscope Records clearly had actual knowledge that Combs was dangerous around females and that Combs was willing to brazenly batter a female in public. Erica Wolf, one of Combs' attorneys, responded to the Richards lawsuit with this statement to Vibe. Mr. Combs is shocked and disappointed by this lawsuit. In an attempt to rewrite history, Dawn Richard has now manufactured a series of false claims, all in the hopes of trying to get a payday conveniently timed to coincide with her album release and press tour. So let's go back to Usher. There was speculation around him, and that increased dramatically when all of the singer's tweets suddenly disappeared on the day before Combs was arrested in New York. There were rumors that Usher might be trying to cover up any past mentions of Combs on his feed, but Usher later tweeted, or wrote on X, "Account got hacked and damn, y'all ran with it," followed by 3 laughing emojis. His tweets also seem to be restored on his feed. Now, Usher is not the only up-and-coming superstar that got special attention from Combs. There was a video posted to Justin Bieber's YouTube page when the singer was just 15. It's gone viral again after the latest allegations against Combs.
Justin, you ever seen the movie 48 Hours? Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, like you know, where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream.
Now, Usher was actually the one to introduce Bieber to the world of Combs and Bad Boy Entertainment. Usher told Howard Stern that he'd heard about Bieber through the grapevine, he'd seen some of his YouTube videos.
Because in the world of commerce, the backlash against silence is faster than the sponsorship checks they relied on. Within the trial, defense attorneys are scrambling. They're rushing in last-second witnesses, filing objections, trying to discredit Usher's motivations, labeling him bitter or seeking headlines. But every time they speak, the room feels more off balance. They can't erase the words he said. "I was trapped. I saw the dark side. And I'm here now." That echoes. This trial isn't just courtroom drama. It's culture drama. It's fame versus accountability. It's power versus exposure. Usher has become a turning point. The moment the inner circle started to crack. And if Diddy's collapse here is more than emotional, if it translates into stakes, if the judge and jurors acknowledge his outburst as proof that he's guilty of the behavior described, the impact is irreversible. We're on edge. The sentencing phase looms. Prison or probation? Years or months? House arrest or locked cell? The courtroom is about to watch Diddy face consequences, not just emotional ones, but legal and financial ones that strip him of power like nothing else can. That alone could break open more stories. Because once the worst case is real, people feel safer to speak. And what happens outside the trial is just as significant. Record executives reevaluate their stance. Current collaborators step back. Legacy tours paused. Streaming playlists purged. Rival artists cautiously step forward or quietly produce. Fans rally or walk away. This won't go away. Because Usher was once part of the community that benefited from the illusion. And by breaking the cycle, he didn't just help prosecute one man. He shattered the code of silence. This moment will be dissected in criminal law classes, in journalism schools, in motivational talks and TEDx panels. The cultural impact could last years. So what's next? Usher's already offered to cooperate further. Prosecutors are digging. Other insiders are being subpoenaed. Stylists, caterers, drivers, they're being talked to. Emails and contracts are being pulled. The walls are closing in. Diddy might be counting on loyalty. But loyalty doesn't survive once the institution turns against you. And the ripple effect across celebrity accountability? It's already started. Other artists with long-standing allegations, names previously insulated by image, are getting thinner coverage. Talked about in whispers this past decade, now others may be forced to answer. What do they know? What did they see? Did they ignore it? This could be the tipping point. Usher's testimony may go down as the moment the entertainment industry realized it's no longer enough to target your public persona. If abuse happens, multiple witnesses, multiple reports, multiple consequences, then fans lose trust. Sponsors lose faith. Networks drop projects. The system begins to respond. Ultimately, what started with a single person stepping forward is becoming a movement. Accountability culture meets courtrooms. Power gets dismantled piece by piece when prosecutors and jurors say the echoes of past conduct aren't just rumors, they're proof. So yes, Diddy's breakdown isn't just a moment of emotional collapse, it's the beginning of collapse itself. One that may redefine reality for good. It may shift power in the industry forever. Let me know what you think. Do you believe Usher? Do you think more insiders will follow? Will Diddy's empire fall or dig in? Do you think this moment will reshape celebrity culture? Drop your thoughts. This storm is far from over.